branding tips, tips for marketing and apps development. All right. And it's brought to you today by In Business Links Network and the Fustino Brothers. Um, the Fustino Brothers are three, right? We have Richard down at the bottom left, who will join us shortly, and myself, Gary Fustino, in the middle, and Russell Fustino, who's on the road today, flying to an appointment. Russell is an MVP, most valuable player for Microsoft for a number of years there, from 2013 to 18. Myself, I've gotten involved with art direction, design, business social media, and website and app design. And I'm also the e-services director for the Boss Business Association. Richard has been very instrumental in his whole career with teaching students music and so forth. And he's also the director of the Week of Rock back in Western New York, Tonawanda, New York. And they just had a session in November. I'm sorry, in August, and he'll be joining us in November up here in Florida. So you could hear more about him when he joins us today. We also have a few products out there. One famous one is our Jethro Tull app, which is an app for a group from England from the early 60s that are actually still touring today, 50 years later. We have a copyright for the programming, and it's on all of the major platforms. So I hope you pick that up. You could search for it by just typing in Tull on any phone or device that you have, and it's going to give you all the current tour dates, all the discography, which is over 75 albums over the span of their career, some of their official videos, as well as the fan videos, which are also quite good, and deep links going back to their associates and people that are involved in them. We also have a store that's right here. We have an FBI store that you can pick up some of this memorabilia, especially our t-shirts and coffee mugs and so forth. So here we are, internet tips for branding for the marketing and apps development. What is it? What is internet branding? Well, let's start with the brand first. The brand is a customer experience represented by a collection of images. It's also known as a logo, a slogan, a design theme, something like that. And that's from the American Marketing Association. So you add the word internet to it, and that becomes a way of life or a technique or a medium that broadcasts your brand in the marketplace. And the marketplace being, okay, of course, the World Wide Web, how you're going to portray your business on the internet across counties, across states, across the country, across the world, especially if we have overseas markets, all right? So you want to have a consistent approach is one of the things that we'll talk about. So here's the branding scenarios. Some of the things that have gotten small businesses, we got a couple of products out there. Does one relate to the other? Is your website hard to navigate? You want to make that very easy. You want to use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if you do use them, do they all look alike? Do they look similar so people know that your product or your brand is the one that they're looking at? Company landing pages, do they look different than your storefront or your brochure, your collateral work pieces that you've got out there, your flyers and window posters and so forth, or your advertising that you have in newsletters and magazines and newspapers? Your mobile version, does it look similar to your desktop? Can people keep recognizing? Well, we're going to get into all these scenarios coming up. We'll take one at a time. Otherwise, they're an ouch. They're things that you need to fix. All right. Here's your brand recognition from some of the top players and some things that they've done well and others that they haven't. Pepsi in the top left, for example, they've had this wavy line for years, and now they've kind of stylized it to waving, almost like a sail kind of thing. But people still recognize that as Pepsi, so it's just a more modern, and it might even be a better approach because they're also into more things, not only into soft drinks, but they're into water, they're into iced tea, they're into a lot of things. So they wanted to expand their brand. Yahoo has been pretty much the same since it was created in the early 80s, with the exception of now they've gone to a lowercase lettering. They started with the Yahoo, then they simplified it below the Yahoo there, you see, and then to the far right is what they recently, just within a month, have changed their look to. They've kept the explanation point, and they've modified it to just be a Y and an explanation point when they need something very simple. UPS has evolved over the years since the early 50s. And in the middle there, the black and white one was designed by Saul Bass, or one of the forefront of people that design things for simplification. I think he really hit it on the head, the nail on the head, as they say. The package above the UPS really tells the story of what they do. All right, that package means that they deal with packages or deliver packages. Well, they've since then, in the millennial generation, they took out the package and put in a 3D curve to the right there, and also added some drop shadow and so forth, and some gleam. So they've tried to pretty it up. It's kind of like the disco era, that kind of thing. Now today, it's flat, and that's the result of influencer down at the bottom there, Microsoft. When they got into the phone business, they wanted to make a very simple approach, which was a very unique thing for Microsoft. They tried to simplify things, and their logo as well. They went from a 3D wavy window, which became almost looking like a flag, to 4 windows, almost like what they call tiles, so it related to their software that they're promoting. And then the UPS symbol is very reminiscent of that, very flat. American Airlines in the bottom left, they also had a flat logo initially in the 90s all the way through recently. They've just changed it to a 3D eagle. Well, do you really recognize that eagle as American Airlines? It's not even the same colors that they were using. They were using a deep blue and a red. Well, they have the red, but now they have a light blue. And if you didn't know that was an eagle, would you know it was an eagle, or would it be like a little pointer or something of that nature? So it's going to take a little recognition for people to realize that that's American Airlines. All right. Continued here with brand recognition. The simplification was a great thing that Microsoft did for the world, actually, but it became problematic as well, because now you've got companies that really oversimplifies their look and their logo. You have Target, you have Beach, you have Pinterest, all with a B or a P or a Q. Even locally here, Publix has that P. If you turn it over, is it a backward B or is it a Q? What is it? So you got to make sure that if you do want to use a simplified approach, that people really recognize, right? General Foods, for example, is a G. Green Bay Packers is a G. Football. Then you got Groupon is a G for deals, and you got the G for Google search. So, which G is it? How do they all represent each other? So that kind of thing. Bottom row is really the ouch of the group here. You've got National Geographic with the golden rectangle, and you've got National Geographic, for example. They actually got sued by National Geographic because they thought the nationwide open rectangle there was too reminiscent of their logo. So what Nationwide had to do is actually go back to their previous logo, which was an eagle and an N. Next to that, you're seeing the double P is PayPal, and then to the right of that is Pandora Music. Well, they're both digital services, so PayPal thought that Pandora was really interfering with their logo. So Pandora had to stop using the solid P and go into more pattern P, and that ended the lawsuit there. So you got to be careful, how simplified you make it, because you may look like somebody else that's on the piece there. Oh, I forgot to mention Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard now is going. Hewlett Packard Enterprise is going with the rectangle. Does that mean that they're Enterprise for National Geographic? We'll see what happens there, or if National Geographic is going to have issue with that horizontal rectangle as well. All right. The simplified logos continuous here. Some that work and some that don't. I think the one that really works is the one in the center, the center row. Of course, you got target, which is a target, so I think that works extremely well for a target. And then you've got master charge, which is in the center. That initially was two spheres, two world globe spheres, Western Hemisphere and Eastern Hemisphere, and they simplified it to become just two interlocking circles. What may not work is the K for Kmart. Well, of course, most of the Kmart stores are gone now, so I don't know if you can contribute that to their logo or not. And then you've got the check mark, which is a very common symbol used by many vendors, but in this case, this is used by Verizon Wireless. Does that make them unique, or is that part of everybody else that uses the check mark? And then, of course, you got Mitsubishi and so forth. I mean, you've got to know these symbols to recognize the Macy's star. Is that Macy's star, or is that Russia? Or does Macy's come from Russia? It may be. It just may be. All right. Monograms. You have New York Yankees really stands out. That's been an old monogram that has stayed over the years. People recognize that as the New York Yankees. General Electric, what they used to call in the trade world, they called the meatball. Well, they've stayed consistent. People recognize that as General Electric. Why that works, I don't know, but it's been around for so long. Newcomers, maybe from the 60s, were Gucci and Chanel. They almost look the same. Are they the same company? One is a clothing line, the other is a perfume, or do they both sell perfume and clothing? And which I think they do. So they almost relate to each other, but they're really not. So you might have a problem there. And finally, you have descriptive logos. You got Starbucks in the center that has the star. Why Starbucks relates to mermaids, we don't know, other than it came from, I believe, Seattle, which is possibly a seaport that might have mermaids. So I think that's how they related it. You got Domino's Pizza. Domino is certainly recognized. Whether it recognizes it as pizza, we don't know. Pizza, of course, says pizza, and you got the hut on the top. So it was a very good logo for the time. But right now, there's no more walk-in restaurants, so they may have to rethink that. It's no longer a hut where you go get it. It's more of a mobile service. Apple, of course, has got the bite out of the apple. That works. Whether it worked as a computer company, we don't know, but it has evolved as a computer company, right? And then you got Wikipedia, which is reminiscent of the IBM Selectric Ball that came out years ago for the select typewriters, and that has many different languages and religion symbols on there, so it's very complicated. And also introducing the puzzle, how one part of the world relates to the other, and there's some missing pieces, and for you to contribute, they always want you to contribute to the ball. If you have information on something that you're looking up, they ask you to contribute. So that's probably why they took a couple pieces out of that ball that is always evolving, always expanding. So that's more of the descriptive logos. All right. Next, in your brand experience, this is a website that is popular today, and it's in Florida. It's sunbiz.org, which I really can't believe with the purse strings that money has, Florida has. They've got this 1980s type website, Tampa Bay. They've done a great job across the line, all the medium. They've got the website, they got Facebook and Twitter and their blog. They're using even the same graphic as they produce their storyline out there to the public simultaneously. So they make sure they've got all their channels updated with the same information or similar information, same colors and so forth. They've done a good job with this, and this is one of the examples to look at. Now, of course, being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've got several bucks to use with. Literally, they got deep purse strings. So, but it doesn't have to cost a lot. I mean, you could do this very easily across your own channels with your own social media as a small business. All right. So some of the things to look for: when to use what, or how to develop your strategy. Facebook is always a good place to start. 66% of small businesses are using Facebook. Next in line, of course, is Twitter. It generates the Facebook there. If you go back to Facebook, it generates 70% of the leads that you might have for small business, and over 53% in brand building. So you got a better than 50-50 shot if you develop your brand on the internet. Okay, so and then the bottom right corner, you don't want to forget about the new guys. You got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, and so forth down there that you want to play along with, get involved. But as you develop your platforms, I would say start with your most common top three, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, right there. You would post at least one time a day with Facebook, 5 times a day for Twitter. Now, of course, President Trump has blown that out of the water. You know, he does about 50 tweets a day, but the average, or for a small business, and especially if you're running your business, you probably need to control the input to about 5 times a day, and you could do it as little tidbits. If you have one story, you can give 5 pieces of that story with each tweet. Okay, then you got Instagram. Twice a day is pretty good. Yelp is always very good seasonally. If now with the holidays coming on, you've got Halloween, of course, and you got Christmas. That's when you want to use Yelp, so people find you, especially if you're in a retail or restaurant business. You want people to make reservations and so forth. So it's be a good time to start advertising on Yelp all the way to New Year's, right? YouTube, bottom left there, you do this consistently on your own schedule. Pick a time of day or weekday that you want to put something out there on YouTube. It's not a channel for instant gratification or instant use. You could plan your work, and also you could also polish your work on YouTube. You have a chance to edit what you do, so it's not like coming off the seat of your pants. You could really make your look and feel really productive. And then you've got Pinterest right there in the middle. Maybe 3 times a week you could either pin something that's already up there, or put up your own pins. Snapchat is a new one. You want to do it as an immediate gratification. So if you're taking video, you want people to see it immediately, and only want it around for a day, you can use Snapchat. And then, of course, the one on the end there, immediately. Also videos too as well, and that's also international. Okay, so social media integration. Okay, so when was the best time to do some of this work? Well, the best time for Facebook, if we just take Facebook as an example, and all the others have times, this is a pretty good example. Between 1 and 3 most days is a good time to post on Facebook. And they're saying that with that green chart there from HuffPost Technology, they're saying Thursday is a great day to post over the others. From personal experience, I like Sunday night. It's a really great night to get people interested, because if they have a family, they're putting the kids to bed, they're ready to go, and they're ready to start their workday on Monday morning, and they're already looking at their post and what's available and so forth for Monday morning. So Sunday night is a great time to do it, especially if somebody's getting in the office on Monday morning and they're settled down with their coffee. They're going to see your post. All right, that's very important. Here's an example of what not to do: the ouch thing between your storefront, your brochure, and your web presence. Our left is JCPenney on the internet. They got the capital JC and the word penny. Some of their storefronts have the JCPenney logo. Others have the lowercase JCPenney, and their flyers have the lowercase penny. Well, is this the same JCPenney, or is it different? I mean, they tried to do a revamping of their logo, and it failed miserably. So they actually went back. You see Penny. Of course, before that, it was just called Pennies with an apostrophe S. So, and it's all the same store. So you got to be careful what you do, and you want all your endeavors to match. You know, and if you have storefronts, you got to know how long is it going to take to change those storefronts. That graphics, if you're a big player like J.C. Penney's. Your desktop is your mobile phone. Here, they should look similar. You know, is the hot cars on the top the same as the hot cars on the phone? It look completely different. They don't have the same graphic. It's unlike similar image on both the desktop and their phone, and also on their blog. So this is the ouch example, the bad example that you want to improve upon. All right, so these are some of the things, and the way you improve these things is use the technology to your advantage. Or what we say here is, we want you to continue with these challenges. Speak about it. We'll do this offline once we conclude here with the brand recognition, the better brand experience, the social media integration, and the consistency for your online presence. So, any questions about these examples? Just let me know here, and we could discuss them in a moment or two. Otherwise, thank you. And then up next is the resources. This is where you could find all the information. And by the way, we'll have this as a PowerPoint coming up, and also a video for you to use. And finally, we've got another webinar coming up January 13th, 2020. Time will be determined. It's usually at 12 noon. Sometimes it's late evening at 10 o'clock. So as we get closer to that date, we'll let you know the time, and of course it'll be out there on Eventbrite and